Hey everybody, it's Party Lead here with another episode of Total Breakdown. Today the Greenskins of Riggsen take on the Vampire Coast led by a name I have no idea how to pronounce. Now just a reminder that if you want to see more Total Breakdown on the channel, the best way to make sure it happens is by leaving a like and a comment down below letting me know. Now with no time to waste, let's begin. And we begin of course with talk of composition and deployment. The Greenskins try something a little cunning today, so let's take a look at them first. We've got Azag the Slaughterer up in the air in charge, and back here a pair of Goblin Big Bosses on Wolves. Up front, Maghrib's Mangy Marauders with their armor-piercing shots looking to get some early damage in, while we also have the 8 Peak Loonies able to sneak up, stalk up, and stay hidden. Right behind them we have a pair of Goblins on either side, and behind them we've got the Rusty Errors also able to stalk up and get some shots in from a safe distance. The back, meanwhile, you can see on either flank we have these Savage Orc Biggins, some of them tucked in the trees on either flank, and then in the middle here we actually have the Savage Orc Error Boys, a pair on either flank, and these guys will actually be capable in melee, especially against low-tier fodder Vampire Coast melee units, such as the, deckhand mobs. And then in the middle over here, we also have the Goblin Rock Lobber looking to lob some rocks right from the get-go if possible. On the other side of the field, you can see the Vampire Coast is being led by none other than Count Noctilus himself atop that Necrofex Colossus, and he has brought with him another Necrofex Colossus as well as Queen Bess at the back over here. We also have a pair of Carronades back here, and they're all protected by the Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob with Polearm unit. Up front, meanwhile, you can see we have a pair of Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob with Polearm. Right behind them, some more regular Deckhand Mobs, and then to the flanks at the back, we also have some more polearm. So some very low-tier fodder troops up front over here, hoping to hold the line as the artillery continues to get shots in. And of course, Queen Bess is going to be able to do a lot of damage right from the start and also slow the enemy down as they try to close the gaps. And up front over here, you can see we also have these deck droppers moving up ever so slowly, ever so carefully to try and get some early damage in as the Carronades and Queen Bess as well get a lot of work done. Take a look at that first shot coming in, dropping health and morale for these units by about 25 to 50% respectively, doing wonderful work with Queen Bess to kick things off. And again, Queen Bess is very powerful and needs to be shut down as quickly as possible. You can see, though, the deck droppers over here have pushed forward with their handguns, have tried to get some scouting done, I think, and are now peeling away to the side as they want to stay away from Maghrib's Mangy Marauders. But you can see Maghrib's Mangy Marauders taking a lot of shots. Is back here again. Queen Bess gets a beautiful shot into the Savage Orc Error Boys as well as these Goblins, just absolutely obliterating them, dropping health to about 50% for those Savage Orc Error Boys. Not a bad call at all. You can see at the same time back here, we actually have the Goblin Big Bosses pushing off to the side here alongside Azag the Slaughterer, who's pushing off to the side, far off to the left, as here these deck droppers are firing away, trying to get some damage done, but also pulling away into the trees to hide from all of those ranged shots. Maghrib's Mangy Marauders here taking some shots from the Carronades as well as the Necrofex Colossus, close to giving up on the fight. There we go. They do give up on the fight, turn around and rout, as up front over here to 8 Peak Loonies just barely surviving a shot from Queen Bess, able to dodge it by a few inches perhaps, as over here you can see the Savage Orc Biggins continue to push in, as off on this side as well these Savage Orc Biggins are pushing in as well, trying to close this gap as quickly as possible. Back here you can see meanwhile another shot from Queen Bess, just obliterating these Savage Orc Error Boys. Beautifully done. Azag the Slaughterer meanwhile looking for a gap, looking for an opening to push in and maybe get some hurt done himself, as these Goblin Big Bosses as well creeping through the trees, making sure they stay hidden and safe from ranged attacks. Queen Bess misses a shot over there, flubs a little bit, but you can see a lot of damage already done, as now we get some counter charges coming in as well. All of these deckhand mobs with polearms and without pushing in to try and hold the enemy at bay, keep them far from all of that artillery so the artillery is able to continue firing, as over here Azag the Slaughterer is moving up as well to try and use a little bit of magical damage to get some assistance in terms of damage into enemy leadership. Back here you can see as the front lines meet, the Savage Orc Biggins on the left over here are having a terrible time. They're being pinged by the Necrofex Colossus and by Queen Bess, and over here you can see we do get Count Noctilus hit by Spirit Leech as Azag the Slaughterer is diving in to prevent some of those ranged shots coming in, but you can see both Necrofex Colossi now firing away. In comes a unit of Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mobs as well, as the Rock Lobbers are lobbing their rocks and getting some damage into the back over here, absolutely destroying some of these Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob with polearms, but not doing enough just yet, as Queen Bess responds with a shot of her own. Beautifully done. Meanwhile, you can see we have the Goblin Big Bosses again looking for an opportunity to dive in, as Azag needs to pull back into safety and take to the air. And take a look at that. Wah kicks in, but so much damage done to the front lines that this left flank is not getting any of the assistance from Wah, as all of these archers continue to fire away and get some hurt done. We have the front line just crumbling and pulling back into safety, routing away, but that right flank flank is coming out on top. You can see pushing rather aggressively, pushing right through all of these pole arms and the deckhands, while back here the Goblin Big Bosses have managed to push through and engage the carronade, trying to make sure that it isn't able to get any more shots out. As back here you can see Fate of Buna goes down on the deck droppers as well, trying to eliminate that airborne, highly mobile unit, as Queen Bess gets another shot in, trying to do some damage to these goblins over here and get them to give up on the fight. Beautifully done, as all of these archers over here, the Rusty Arrows, as well as these Savage Orc Arrow Boys, firing away on that right flank and pushing real hard, making sure that they're able to push right through. And take a look at that, just crumbling away, literally speaking here. The zombie pirate deckhand mob as well crumbling now, as we have these goblins pushing forward again, trying to eliminate some of that artillery fire. Over here, meanwhile, you can see we have these Savage Orc Biggins pushing in for a flanking attack onto the zombie pirate deckhand mob, just trying to finish them off as quickly as possible so the army can, again, push through on this left flank as well. But we do have these pole arms coming in for a rear charge at these Savage Orc Biggins, and Queen Bess, of course, firing away as well, as the Rusty Arrows as well as these Arrow Boys continue to fire away at some of these deck droppers up there. Meanwhile, back here, you can see the Goblin Big Boss is doing a lot of work trying to eliminate the deckhand mob with pole arms as well as the carronade, as Queen Bess continues to fire away, gets another beautiful shot, but you can see over here not able to dodge or anything as those shots come through. The Arrow Boys are not having a good time. They are engaged, I think, in a little bit of melee, but again, like I said, the Arrow Boys are capable enough in melee if push comes to shove. Meanwhile, up front over here, you can see we do have the Savage Orc Biggins entangled by the Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mob over here, as over here we have the Deckhand Mob dancing with these goblins. We have a lot of range support coming in, though, as Queen Bess continues to flub a couple of shots. Azag decides to dive in on Count Noctilus, try to finish him off as he uses Invocation of Nehek to stay alive. In comes another shot from Queen Bess, again focusing in on the rage capabilities, try to eliminate that range support because it does cause not only physical damage but damage to morale as well. And you can see the Goblin Big Boss over here picking a fight with Count Noctilus, trying to eliminate him as he brings in some magical bombardment in the back over there, trying to eliminate these Savage Orc Biggins as well. Good shots coming in from Count Noctilus, both magical and physical. Queen Bess again flubbing a bit of a shot in between these errors, as well as these Savage Orc Biggins who are just sitting there looking pretty. They need to push in aggressively right now, as back here you can see we also have these deck droppers flying over looking for an opportunity to assist somewhere, as over here we have a bunch of these units again sitting back here not really doing anything. Azag pulling back into safety, not wanting to get pinged by all of the artillery that the Vampire Coast has brought to the field. And you can see now all of these archers are firing away at Count Noctilus, but he uses Invocation of Nehek once more to try and stay alive. He's at about 50% health right now. Morale is pretty low as well. The two Goblin Big Bosses are trying to pick him off. We also have these Savage Orc Biggins over here coming in from multiple sides, just trying to get some damage done. We have these Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mobs not really doing anything. They need to push down here and maybe tangle some of these Savage Orc Arrow Boys. Same goes over here. These Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mobs just not doing anything. They're just sitting there looking pretty. It's the second time this game I've had to say it. They need to push in and shut down some of that range support, because you can see the Rusty Arrows over here as well, providing support to this left flank as these Savage Orc Biggins dive in and eliminate the Deckhand Mob with polearm unit over here. Beautifully done, and now the Rusty Arrows are actually able to turn around as well alongside all of these Arrow Boys and fire up this way as the Rock Lobber continues to lob rocks, trying to eliminate, I think, the carronade. Queen Bess is out of ammunition, not able to do much more anymore, and you can see back over here these goblins now as well pushing in as the Goblin Big Boss finds itself fully surrounded, and back here we get another Deckhand Mob brought into the field right on top of the Rusty Arrows here. Beautifully done, shutting down the Savage Orc Arrow Boys as well as the Rusty Arrows, but quick response, the Rusty Arrows pull away immediately. They want to get a safe distance away so they can keep firing away, as over here you can see as well we have these Savage Orc Arrow Boys firing away. And I do think, now I know I called them out for looking pretty earlier, but I think these Savage Orc Biggins were staying back just in case some Zombie Pirate Deckhand Mobs were popped up closer to this side over here, so maybe not a bad call staying back and being a bit patient back there. And over here now we have the Goblins pushing through. We have the 8-Peak Loonies as well pushing through this entire left flank, now able to push through because they have eliminated the threat on that left side. But over here in the middle you'll see another magical bombardment coming through, just eliminating these goblins completely. I think these Savage Orc Biggins took a little bit of collateral damage as well. Necrofex Colossus continues to fire away, gets some hurt into the Savage Orc Arrow Boys. Count Noctilus does the same, getting a good shot into the Rusty Arrows, needing to shut down that range support, but it is oh so powerful, oh so overwhelming. There's so numerous. All of these arrows focusing down on Count Noctilus. He uses another Invocation of Nehek to try and stay alive. In comes some more Deckhand Mobs trying to close the gap to these Rusty Arrows, but you can see the Goblin Big Boss atop his wolf decides to dive in to try and intercept. In comes a charge from behind as well, trying to get a nice interception there, but the Deckhand Mob is still able to push through and interrupt the fire from the rusty arrows over here. So beautifully done there. Unfortunately, the big bosses were not able to close them down. The Necrofix Colossus, meanwhile, over here, looking for his next shot, gets a nice shot lined up and pulls the trigger in just a moment's time. Good hit, glorious hit on these Savage Orc Arrow boys, getting them to almost give up on the fight, and there it is. They do give up on the fight. Meanwhile, Mogreb's Mangy Marauders back on the field here, getting some charges in, dancing around, firing their arrows wherever possible, as back here you can see the Necrofix Colossus with Count Noctilus on top is in a trouble situation. In comes a rear charge, all those range shots coming through as well. The Goblin Big Boss is getting a lot of damage done. Down goes Count Noctilus, and down goes his Necrofix Colossus as well, giving up on the fight, by which I mean absolutely being obliterated across the board. We have the Vampire Coast collapsing. Everything is just disintegrating away, as you can see over here as well, disintegrating away. The only thing that is able to hold are the deckhand mobs that were summoned to the field, but that is not nearly enough to overcome the Greenskins, and a Pyrrhic victory for the Orcs. The Vampire Coast brought a lot of cannon fodder and a lot of cannons, and positioned things in a way that would keep the front lines far from the long-range artillery way at the back. Now this worked very effectively at first, as we can see the very high kill counts on Queen Bess and the Necrofix Colossus, but the Greenskins were brutally cunning, or perhaps cunningly brutal, in how they came in from the side with the Goblin Big Bosses and Azak to shut down whatever they could, as soon as they could. Now, there were some moments where units were left without orders, but they happened on both sides and could easily have swung the battle either way. With WH and physical resistance and a great deal of ranged capabilities of their own, the Greenskins took the day. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight such amazing battles from the community. I'd also like to thank all of my patrons for supporting the channel on a monthly basis, and all of my channel members as well. You make a huge difference in keeping the channel alive and running smoothly. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you on the battlefield.